That's me. And me again. And again. Safe to say I have a pretty long history of playing Nintendo games. And with the announcement of the Switch 2 and a handful of games on the horizon, I thought it would be fun to sit down with 3 different students on campus that are getting excited for the release in June.
Our first guest is Nicholas Patel. He's a master's student in counseling.
Without further ado, let's get started. We're here to talk Switch 2 today. So first of all, do you have a Switch 1?
I do. I have an OG Switch. I don't believe mine's like a day one or anything, but I got it probably 6 to 8 months after the Switch 1 came out. And I haven't bought an OLED. I didn't buy it upgraded. It's just been the basic old Switch. So I've been looking forward to a huge revamp. Not really like the OLED, but like a huge revamp for a while now.
I'm in, the similarities are getting eerily similar here because I'm the exact same boat. I think the Switch came out in March. I think I got mine in about August in 2017.
Yeah, roughly. I would say 6 to 8 months probably is that range.
Right. And so for having been there kind of for that Switch launch, what are you excited about for the Switch 2 launch and getting to be a part of, 7-8 years later?
I'm honestly really just looking forward to playing some of the games that I have with the upgraded graphics. I think because of the classic Nintendo feel of like a handheld console, I like playing my Switch undocked. I like being able just to lay on the couch and play it. So I think the fact that the Switch is getting a massive overhaul in its hardware department is probably the main thing I'm looking forward to with just the device itself.
Mm-hmm. It'll be nice to, lay on your couch and not have to worry about, frame rate issues, this and that and the other. And
yeah.
Because that's the one thing I know playing I bought Breath of the Wild on launch, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and great game, but one thing about that is there's some places in that where it really pushes the Switch to its limits, and it's one of the first ones to come out on the Switch.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
No, go ahead.
I think honestly, the main, from what you were saying about like the Switch 1's hardware getting really tested, is probably the last Pokemon game to come out, because I just could not play that game in the handheld mode because it would just burn the battery so fast because of the limitations of the hardware. It's been out for 7 years at that point, so to me it just wasn't even playable because of the frame rate issues and because of you'd be sitting on a couch and your battery's dead after an hour. So
hands are on fire, just the fans going crazy. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it'll be cool to see what they do, especially with this new DLC model that they're doing. I'm not a huge fan that they're charging for up-reses. I think that's a little cheap and not consumer friendly. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not the biggest fan of it. I guess looking from a half glass full perspective, at least it's not the same price as the original games. Like, at least you're not paying a whole $60 again to play the game that you already own. It kind of sucks. I think it's $20 is what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Which even that $20 for each game is, you can buy a Steam game for that point.
Mm-hmm.
And have the kind of the same experience. But I mean, I think people are gonna buy it. I think people are gonna be able to replay those games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You're gonna be able to buy it and play it at a higher refresh rate and better graphics. People might spend a chunk of change to do that.
Mm-hmm. What was the reveal was pretty much a week ago, right? And when this airs, it'll have been 2 weeks ago. What was the biggest surprise from that Switch 2 Direct for you?
I think I would say one personal con. I was really hoping they would push the boundaries and make it 1440. Mm-hmm. I don't think they could have because of the hardware. Because I don't know. I don't own a Steam Deck, and I don't know if Steam Decks or like the Rogue Ally can go to 2K. But I think it would have been really cool to see it be able to do 1440. But I mean, I get, if you're going from 720 to 1080, it's, even in this day and age, it's still an upgrade. But it's kind of like okay, Nothing really to write home about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 120 FPS frame rate though is cool. That's a good touch. At least it's not at 60 frame.
I was shocked to see that it was 120. I was for sure they were gonna go 1080 undocked and 60 FPS at most.
Yeah, I think the 1440 thing would have been like would been asking for too much, but the fact that it's not capped at 60 frames, it's out. You can do it at 120 on some games. Is what they said is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just from the Switch overall, the fact that I'm assuming that they've put a lot of money towards including those third-party games that are not normally Nintendo. Like the fact that they've probably paid a pretty good premium to have FromSoft make pretty much, I think, a Bloodborne 2 edition just exclusively for the console is kind of nuts. Being able to port over Elden Ring and then other types of AAA games that you normally wouldn't really see on a Nintendo like catalog, I think kind of puts them in a good place to start competing with those other handheld type gaming consoles now, like the Switch or the Steam Deck and the Rogue, to where you can have access to AAA games while being able to play Nintendo games, which you can't really do, I guess, without emulating on another handheld console.
And that was actually, I was expecting going into that Direct, I was expecting to see a lot of first party, because I know that they did a Nintendo Direct the week prior, and it was cool announcements. I like Tomodachi Life and Rhythm Heaven, but that was pretty much all there was. And then when we just got into a segment, I think it was probably, like 10 minutes of just third party after third party after third party. I think they're really trying to swing here and kind of show, hey, we got something that can compete with, the likes of the Steam Deck. Because I know when the Steam Deck came out, people were trying to label it as a Switch killer. I never really bought that. But I think even now, I think those allegations, they have to be shut down after they came out swinging. Now, will they run, looking like Elden Ring on a PS5 or even a PC or maybe even a Steam Deck? I don't know. But I guess only time will tell for that one.
Yeah, I think the true test is going to be how many of those third-party AAA games are going to be able to run at the specs that they're claiming that the Switch 2 can run at. Because if you can play Elden Ring at 4K on a TV with HDR and it's supported, that's starting to get up there with the other like traditional home consoles. And you can take it on the fly, so you have both the portability and being able to play at home. For all these newer age AAA games, nothing that's been over past 5 to 10 years.
Right. We're used to seeing like slightly better PS3 games on this, so it's going to be interesting to see what those look like. But I think they're going to go lockstep. I think they're going to try and be in lockstep with whatever Sony's getting, whatever Xbox is getting with this hardware. And so, moving past the third-party stuff, I want to talk about first-party. So we got Mario Kart World, and we got DK Bonanza, a handful of other things. What are you most excited for, games-wise, looking into the Switch's launch? Switch 2's launch.
I think off the rip, the Mario Kart looks fun. The feeling that I got from it kind of feels like a Forza competitor. Like the fact that there's free roam, which is really interesting in a Mario Kart game, not really a traditional thing that you'd really think about when you think of Mario Kart. They're really trying to, I feel like, tailor to more of like an arcade style of racing games, like more of like you're gonna see 24 players. Well, they might be bots depending on how it runs. But like being able to play against 24 players across the world rather than just doing the traditional 3 laps circuit that they have for most of, if not all of their Mario Kart games, I think will be really interesting. I think it'll be a big swing. The DK game, I never really got into DK as a kid, so I really don't have an opinion on it. But to me, I don't know, it feels like an Odyssey for DK.
Yeah. So
it could be kind of cool.
I'm very excited about it. I mean, you look at it, it just screams Odyssey 2. And when they mentioned, I know there's been rumors floating around about a 3D DK forever. And I kind of thought they might have taken like a Forgotten Land approach for Kirby, where it was, you know, you have your levels laid out on a map screen, and you're going from level to level, but it's 3D. It does not look like that's the case here at all, and I think they kind of messed it up a little bit when they went 3D with DK on Donkey Kong 64, just with how bloated that thing is. So I'm excited that they're getting a second crack at it. I do think it's interesting though, and I'd like to know your thoughts, that it's been 7 years since Odyssey, and they're not showing their hand at a 3D Mario game on the Switch 2 just yet.
If you have this information, you could probably tell me. I didn't see if they're gonna do like a remaster edition or like the upgraded purchase for Odyssey.
I haven't seen anything yet about it. No.
Listen, I think for as well as all of their like open world type games have done on the Switch, I think it would be in their best interest to build off of that game. That game had such a foundation because it was the first of its kind since 64, I feel like. Before Galaxy. Galaxy was the last open world game. But to me, nothing really captured what 64 felt like until Odyssey came out. So I feel like if they can build off of that world specifically, I think it'd be a really cool addition.
I always thought it was such wasted potential because, like you said, they built this insanely good engine, and I'd argue in my opinion, it's like the best that he's ever controlled, Mario. And they just they made it, they put it out, and in a world of DLC, they just did nothing with it. And I always thought, okay, they're saving it for an Odyssey 2 kind of thing. And I still think it's very odd that we don't even have rumblings of like, hey, here's Delfino Plaza, here's a whole new kingdom, here's, because you know that the Odyssey team has to have more ideas, and maybe we'll find out that's who's behind the Donkey Kong game, and that's where they've been. But I just think it's interesting that there's no 3D Mario right at the jump.
Yeah, I think it would be like you just pointed out. I think if the Odyssey team is working on the DK game, that would make a lot of sense why there isn't one. Because if they're going to pull that amount of resources to make an open world DK game, that would kind of make sense maybe track-wise as to why there isn't a open world Mario game to start. Now, they could be, like you said, saving their hand a bit, not going to show anyone, maybe for another year, and then release one while the Switch is still hot.
And we talked earlier about the up-res. You said that's what you were most excited about. Is there any game in particular that they didn't mention that you're hoping is getting some up-res and some DLC?
I think it'd be really cool if they... this is a pandemic game for me. It's like, I think an Animal Crossing's DLC could be really cool. I know with Tamagotchi Life coming out, it kind of fills that void of that kind of game.
Yeah, Animal Crossing has gotten a ton of DLC, but I also think that New Horizons definitely could use some TLC. One that I'd like to see, while you're looking through your game collection, one that I'd like to see a lot is Mario Wonder, and maybe if they just add a few more levels into that. I love that engine.
A good game.
As far as that, I also love Paper Mario. I'm a big Mario guy, if you can't tell. But Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is one of my favorite games growing up. So if they could add in, there's like this little side campaign that Luigi tells a story every time you beat a chapter. If you could actually play as that would be legit. I don't expect that. I just want it to look pretty and nice. Anyway, go ahead, take it away.
I would think maybe for a game that I would want to see maybe DLC added to it. That's like a first party owned game. Probably a little bit, I think, out of time range because I don't know when 3 came out, but maybe some Splatoon DLC or even some Mario Maker editions.
Yeah. Oh, especially with the mouse
on that engine. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that they could create just from that engine alone on a Switch 2 would be insane.
And kind of, you make a good point on that because there's at a certain point there's only so much you can add to Mario Maker, and I feel like they've kind of done that with Mario Maker 2, that I wouldn't really see a need for them to put out a whole other game. But now that you have the mouse control, like it's almost it would almost be a crime not to do that in a sense.
Yeah, I think I don't know this if they would ever do this, but one massive jump that they could make for that game itself is if they made like a copy of their engine for like how they made Odyssey and make it open world. And make it open world type of Mario Maker game where people can create their own massive 64 type worlds where all these different challenges and puzzles are. I think could be a really cool addition. I don't know how the engine would work though, like as an open source.
I feel like if it's like a
On a
simpler,
game.
like maybe if you make it like a 64 editor, I think it could work.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that'd be super cool. I'd be all sorts of down for that. It's been a fun conversation. I'm gonna have to transition to something a little bit heavier, and what was on my mind whenever this all went down with the Switch 2, the price. So
Yeah.
Mario Kart World is retailing right now at $80. It is known as a premium title, and the Switch is launching at $450. I don't necessarily hate the $450 for a console. I do take issue with Mario Kart, and I'm curious as to what you have to say.
Yeah, Mario Kart's an interesting one because I know they have that bundle to where it's either $450 for the console or it's $500 for that plus Mario Maker or Mario Kart. So depending on which one you buy, you can kind of get it at a reduced price. I think for the console itself, as coming from someone who did not buy an OLED Switch because I just wanted to wait for whenever the Switch 2 came out, I think it was competitively priced for the field of other consoles right now in terms of like handhelds. Because I mean, you can buy a $500 Steam Deck right now, and I kind of feel like the Switch 2 is pretty on par with it, competitive wise, and that Nintendo has shown that they want to bring third-party games over. Kind of shows the competitiveness. I think for the games itself, though, we've seen a trend for the past, I think, 5 to 10 years that games are probably going to continue to go up because of the demand and price that it takes to make them. So while it sucks for the consumer, understanding it from a business perspective, it's like, well, how much money have they really poured into making this game? Unfortunately, that they're a business, so they're going to need to make some kind of profit off of it. If that's their profit margin for it, if $80 is what they say, hey, $70 wouldn't even have us break even, then unfortunately the consumer's gonna have to pay for the $80. So
Yeah.
it sucks, but at the same time, if it's a business decision, which we'll never know, it's Nintendo. If $80 is actually how they can make profit off of it, and they can use that profit to make good stuff for the Switch 2, it's kind of like okay, well, just shut your mouth and you can buy it. If you don't want to buy it, you don't buy it. So
Yeah, that's where I've kind of gotten stuck in the middle with it, because on one hand, it's like $80, that's outrageous. There's $70 I always thought was a little bit too much. I thought we kind of peaked I thought 60 was that sweet spot. But when you put, it is a business, and they're not out to, in the past there have been decisions made to kind of like ease that a little bit. I know that Reggie advocated back in the day to have Wii Sports be a pack-in title for the Wii, and that worked out really well. We've kind of seen them go away from that, and maybe just because they've done things in the past that have been consumer friendly, I think it rubs people the wrong way when they kind of have to make a decision for a business like this. And maybe this is just an experiment for them too, to where it's like, hey, let's go to $80. Mario Kart 8 sold better than any game that we had almost ever. Let's see if we can push the boundaries and see if people will pay even more. Or it could be, hey, it's a tough time, we're launching a new system, let's get some stability. If you can't afford it right now, wait a little bit. And we've seen them adjust prices before. I mean, the 3DS, I know, had a huge price cut, I think 7 months after it launched. So it very well, we could get a price cut. One thing that does also sit wrong with me, though, and I'm sure you saw this, is that they're charging for a tech demo.
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw that, like the demo that they put in. That's funny. It just doesn't make any sense. I just would have made it free.
I have no idea. I know that the argument they said is that they worked hard on it, they made it, and they don't want to just give it out for free. But it's a tech demo. Like it's Astrobot without the platforming. You're just showing off what the Switch 2 can do.
Yeah.
I don't see
Which
any.
you could probably just read about.
Exactly. Like, you don't have to have a full game to tell you what the features can do. Is it cool? Probably. But it's things like that make that $80 price tag. It really makes you sit and think, okay, maybe there is something else to this.
Yeah, I think what people are going to have to remind themselves at is, if a lot of people might complain about the $80, like, oh man, I'm going to spend $80 on a game. Wow. But how many of those people are also going to spend $20 to go play Legend of Zelda?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm a big believer of put your money where your mouth is, and like vote with or talk with your money. If you're comfortable paying $20 for a game you already own and have for a console, just for an upgrade, how many games are you going to buy the $20 upgrade for? Are we really going to complain about $80 for a new game?
Yeah, that's totally fair. But some may argue, they shouldn't have to pay at all. But then, most of the time with Nintendo fans, we'll just suck it up and gladly pay. Not gladly pay, begrudgingly pay. Whatever it has to be. So just as we wrap things up, it's been really fun. Is there anything about the Switch 2 that you are really hoping happens? Like maybe a game, maybe a feature we don't know about? Is there anything that you're really hoping to see later on down the line as a Switch 2 owner?
I will say for the first, for like at least for like the landscape of it right now, because I know with all the price hiking going on, I'm just really hoping it doesn't push 500 if they have to raise prices for it. Because I think if it gets over 500, I'm gonna be like, I can't. I could justify 450 because I didn't buy an OLED Switch. It would be a massive upgrade. It's like it'd be like going from like a PS4 to a PS5 to get like a PS4 Pro. But I think for what it can do though, I just couldn't justify spending over $500 for it when we know it's not worth it because they've already told us what the original price was gonna be. So I'm really hoping, at least for like right now, that stays. I think I would like to see a lowerage of cost on the Joy-Cons. I think $70 for a Joy-Cons is kind of nuts when you think about it. And for the begrudgingly, how begrudgingly I felt about the original Joy-Cons and how much stick drift there was caused and the lock mechanisms, I'm really hoping it's not an absurd amount of money to buy extras.
It always, whenever I felt the stick drift on my original, because I think I'm on my third set of Joy-Cons, and I've refused to buy another set at this point. And there's still minor stick drift, so that would be, if they could fix stick drift and pricing on that, I mean,
I'd be happy.
I
don't know if they showed Bluetooth. I would like to see maybe some Bluetooth compatibility for headphones.
They did that on Switch 1 very late into its life cycle. So I would hope that it's in Switch 2.
Yeah, I think with the amount of people now, the fact that the world has gone so into Bluetooth devices for headphoams, you're rarely seeing ever cords anymore. I know people still have corded headphones and corded earbuds, but for the amount of people amount of options now where there aren't cords involved in headphones and earbuds, I'm really hoping that there's some connectivity with that. Because that was one of my bigger gripes about Switch 1 was, if you don't have any earbuds or headphones, if you forgot a cord, you can't really listen to the audio if you're doing something.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for coming on and talking with me. Lastly, I gotta ask the question that I'm gonna ask everyone: are you gonna buy a Switch 2 at launch if it's available?
If the price stays at $450, or if it doesn't breach 500, I'm gonna try to get one. I already put my Nintendo account in, trying to get I think May 9th is the day. Gonna try to get it. I would try to do my best. If I can't get it like on a day one like pre-order, I'll try to do my best to maybe get it in the next couple of months. I wouldn't be too sad if I didn't get it the day one, but I like it enough to want to try to get it.
Yeah, it's not gonna be like the end of the world, but I mean you're gonna actively seek it out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate you for hopping on and talking with me. Whole 30-minute conversation about Switch and Switch 2. I'm sure we could go for much longer. But with that, we're going to take a break, and we'll be to our next guest right after this. Our next guest is Gus Cohen. He's a senior in biosystems and agriculture engineering. You owned a Wii U, so I know that you're dedicated here. So with the Switch 2 launch, you see the price, you see $450, and you see $80 for games. And what's your kind of initial reaction to that?
To be honest, like the 450 for the console, I was like, it's a bit steep for like a lower powered console, but I'm a big fan, so I wasn't super upset about that. I was like, it's an improvement from the Switch. The games look really good, so like honestly, I'd be okay to pay that. But then once I saw the prices of the games, I'm like, this is not only is this like a bad look for Nintendo, it's also just like I'm afraid that it's just gonna invite other developers to also raise the prices of their games.
Rumblings of like the $100 GTA.
I actually hadn't heard about that. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, games haven't changed price in a while, but like it feels like a huge jump to go from like a normal like $60 AAA game to like 80.
We didn't really see price increases. Like I know that Microsoft and Sony for their premium titles had hit 70.
So for them it felt like a kind of a sudden jump up. So maybe I'm actually wrong in saying what I said. Maybe it's more like they saw other companies starting to raise their prices, and now they're like, all right, let's one-up them.
and it can only grow from there, too, I feel like, as far as price climb.
Yeah.
So with that announcement of seeing, $80 Mario Kart, $70 Donkey Kong, has it really made you excited for the launch of the Switch 2, or a little more hesitant?
Well, I honestly, like, even before I knew about the game prices and I just saw, like, the price of the system, I was like, I'm gonna just wait it out and see, like, how people like it, how people like the games a little bit. Like, I wasn't planning to buy it day one. Yeah, I wasn't really too worried about it. But now I'm like, okay, there's people talking like, we're not going to buy this thing at all until they bring the prices down and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, that's just another reason for me to maybe just sit back and watch and wait and see what happens. Kind of don't think they're going to be able to bring the price. Like, I don't think there's going to be enough people doing that to like really change Nintendo's mind.
Especially with scalpers. I mean, you're going to see scalpers go in there and snatch up that Mario Kart bundle like crazy. I really don't see that happening. If we want to go on a positive note, what have you seen that you actually, thought, hey, this is pretty cool about the Switch 2's reveal and the launch and all that?
Well, the first thing actually is, I'm sure a lot of people might think it's gimmicky, but like that's also a reason I'm a big fan of Nintendo, is I'm a sucker for that stuff, is the like optical sensor that they added so that you can use the controller as a mouse. Like that's actually so cool to me. I've been thinking about that for the longest time, like since like I remember playing like Xbox 360 and thinking, damn, if I just had mouse and keyboard, it'd be so easy. It would be. I'm kind of hyped to see what they do with that, but I'm kind of it's like because it's such a cool idea, but on the other hand, it's probably not gonna get used that much. I can see it being like a forgotten thing, but like I wish because I could see myself playing like Splatoon, doing that, or like maybe they start bringing other like FPS games to the Switch, but I don't.
One person
It's
I
me.
talked to mentioned like the idea of doing Mario Maker and having it to where
Oh
like how
yeah,
it was on the Wii U, where you can just drag and with a touch
yeah.
screen, just have it to where you can point click where you're building levels. I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that's a
Then
great idea
the
for it.
next thought you said, I mean, Splatoon is the perfect thing for mouse and keyboard controls. You
Yeah.
think they'd ever release like a keyboard extension?
I don't know. Nintendo's weird. They could. They do weird. Excuse me. They do weird shit all the time. I could see it happening, but
You never really know what they're gonna. When you think you have them pegged down, it's always something new. So,
mhm.
is there
Yeah.
anything? So maybe after that price drop, maybe after you finally get your hands on a Switch 2, is there anything you'd like to see in the future, like maybe that hasn't been announced yet?
I don't know. I'm a simple man. They just released Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, not like just, but like recently enough that I feel like we're not gonna get any Zelda news for a while. But like that's my all-time favorite series. So,
Hey, Wind
uh,
Waker on GameCube. It's on Switch too
oh
now.
yeah, yeah, true. Too bad I already own Wind Waker like twice anyway.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
I was a little surprised. I mean I can touch on that a little bit. I think the main Zelda news that we've seen come out so far for the Switch 2, we had the Hyrule Warriors get announced, and then Wind Waker, and I think if you want to count Link being in Soul Calibur 2, I think that's about it. The upres versions of Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, we'll go that route. Are
yeah,
you looking forward to playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in a frame rate where it's not chugging? Say like, I know a big one was it the Korok Forest and Breath of the Wild would always
yeah,
chug. Are you excited to be able to play those in 60 FPS and HDR crispy looking visuals?
yeah. I guess I don't know. As a Nintendo fan and as somebody who's like never really like been a gamer who like cares about getting like really high quality visuals, I I don't know. I think that in that aspect, I don't so much care for it.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I just want to play the game as long as it runs, to be honest.
Hey, that's the mindset of a Nintendo fan right there. I know it when I see
Exactly,
it.
exactly,
Yeah, my thing is if the game is fun, I mean, I
exactly.
you could sell me on 30, you could sell me on 60. I won't know the difference between 60 and 120 if you showed me. I mean, if you showed me, probably, but I mean, it's not going to be a deal breaker for me ever. So, wrapping up a little bit here, Gus, is there anything else that you would like to say about the Switch 2 announcement, the launch, maybe something you think they could do differently, something you'd like to see them do? Uh, Overall, just final
Mm,
thoughts on the launch of the Switch 2.
yeah, I'm happy to see that they just I guess generally improved overall on the original Switch. Aside from the prices of the games, I kind of hope that they don't lean into the whole, if you buy the physical cartridge, it's just the game code thing.
Mhm.
I I hope that they put the games on the cartridge and like have it be an actual, because otherwise, you're just every time you buy a game, you're having to use up some of that space, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a physical
Well,
like
it's
game
really just
card.
all for
So
show, at that point.
exactly,
You have it,
exactly.
and especially for my thoughts, whenever I used to declare, I still do a little bit, but I mean, obviously, right now I'm saving my money for if the Switch 2 is going to hit that hard. I'm saving up for that kind of end. But I mean, the best part about physical media is that you tangibly own it and you have that forever, and you can just, maybe say 20 years down the line, you can pull it out of a box and still play it. Whereas when you have those digital game keys, I mean, who knows what it'll look like in 20 years as far as can you download stuff on Switch 2 still when it's an ancient relic, and can you do all these things? You're really jeopardizing being able, like, the experience with these virtual game cards. And some of it, I get it for bigger games, like if it's just too big to put on a cartridge, sure. But some of these games you have, like, I've never played them, so correct me if I'm wrong here. I think it's Octopath Traveler. Is gonna be, I think it's like 10 megabytes or something like that. Something that could easily, it was a 3DS game, something that could easily be put on a cartridge is going the way of the virtual game key. And so I agree with you there. I think that's a slippery slope, and hopefully their first party stuff doesn't fall into that, because that would be really disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really like kind of stupid on Nintendo's end too, because like they're probably not gonna port Black Ops 6.
No.
Like, I can't think of a single Nintendo game that is that big that wouldn't fit on a cartridge like that. But
Well, guys, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. I know it's been crazy busy. I'm a senior too, so I get it. Figuring out that senior schedule, what you're gonna do after graduation, counting down the weeks. But I appreciate you stopping by and talking with me today.
yeah, thank you, man, for having a good conversation too. I don't get to talk to Nintendo fans much.
Hey, I don't either. That's why I was so excited to do this project. I was like, when I found some people, I was like, yes, these are my people right here. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, with that, we're gonna go on to our next guest right after this break.
Our last guest is Dallas McComas. He's a junior studying management information systems.
So let's just go ahead and get into it then. The Switch 2 was revealed, I want to say about a week ago. Yeah, a little over a week ago. First off, just kind of your initial thoughts about the new system, the features, and what you're looking forward to.
I would say, because the thing I'm looking forward to the most, as someone, I play a lot of Splatoon, so the mouse mode, I can't wait for them to do Splatoon 4 and show us, you let us do mouse mode, because I'm also someone who plays with motion controls, but also I'm primarily a PC gamer, so playing with mouse just would be so much better than doing motion control.
Right.
But how about you?
I think for me, I'll kind of touch on mouse mode a little bit. I mean, that's one thing. It looks neat, and I haven't messed around with that much with mouse and keyboard, because I'm a console player. I have a backlog of Nintendo stuff and then a PS5. But I am excited for things like, and this will be the third time I mentioned this, so our listeners know it's coming. But Mario Maker, I think, would be absolutely fantastic for mouse mode. Just being able to click and drag the assets onto the screen and do it that way. I think there's a lot of room for even more diverse and creativity, because Mario Maker 2, I didn't really make levels that much. I usually just played them, but whenever I would just go to experiment with it, it's so clunky.
I agree with you there. I've only made I'd say 10 levels of Mario Maker, but I don't know, it was clunky, it was hard to do. I know a lot of people love to make levels. I'm more of a player myself, and honestly, I like to watch people play Mario Maker, because unless the next Mario Maker, I like the endless mode in Mario Maker 2, but I don't like that there's lives. So I feel like if I'm not able to complete this level within 10 lives, then I need to skip it, because then I can't, because then they'll just kick me out to the start of the game.
Yeah.
So I hope if they do another Mario Maker, they implement infinite lives, and I know they've been kind of, I don't know, with Mario Odyssey they had infinite lives, so hopefully they'll keep that up.
Go down that route, and I'd like to see some more game styles and all that, but that's a conversation for later on down. So right, you said you're going for mouse.
Yeah.
So maybe with this Switch reveal, less on the hardware side, what games did you see, maybe from the Nintendo Direct we got last week or even the week before that, that you're looking forward to playing on Switch 2? Or maybe it's even just, the up-res 60 FPS HDR color quality. What are you most looking forward to?
I'd say, yeah, currently, given that their lineup, I'm most excited for Mario Kart. That's mainly because me and my family, like, we always, like, anytime we, like, get together, we play a lot of Mario Kart, and that's been kind of the thing for the past 10 years. So I'm, like, excited to actually have new maps to play instead of the same. I mean, I know we got the expansion course, and that was, that's, freshen things up, but I'm just really excited for all of us to have more maps to play on. Other than that, I'm excited for the Donkey Kong game. I'm a big Donkey Kong guy. I love Tropical Freeze and Country Returns. But other than, I guess Air Riders too. That's another game that's a game that my brothers were always like wishing that Nintendo would just remake or bring back. So I'm excited for that. But other than that, I was surprised by how many how much more third party there was at the Direct than first party. I was kind of disappointed in that because, like, I mean, third party's cool. I'm glad that Nintendo's getting that support, but especially now that I've transitioned into playing like PC gaming and like on my ROG Ally, I want to play third party games on my PC because I know, I'll be able to run them forever. Whereas on the Switch, it's kind of confined to that. I just wanted to see more Nintendo stuff come out, and I'm sure we will.
Oh, no doubt. That was. I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the biggest surprises to me. And with the pacing of that Direct, I felt like that third party segment, it was cool.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there kind of on the same wavelength. Like, if I wanted Elden Ring, I could have bought it on my PS5 when it came out. I've had.
Right.
No one really buys Nintendo consoles for these third party. They usually buy it for the games that they make. And I think that's one area that they kind of missed on. But I think they really wanted to show off the specs that they had with this new one, showing that, hey, we can run the big boy games too. But
yeah. The only like benefit to playing it on the Switch is because it's portable. But ever since, PC handhelds have taken off, that has kind of dwindled. But I mean, to be fair, like, Nintendo, I don't know if you've ever had an ROG Ally. I have one, and it is really thick, and it has like a 1 hour battery life, and it gets really hot. So I guess that it would be a better experience to play on the Switch in terms of portability. But I also know, like, with my Ally, I can play it on the Ally, and then I can just boot up my PC and have like 4K graphics.
Yeah, and you're transitioning really good into these. Speaking of that, we saw the specs of the Switch too. Were you a little surprised to see that it has up to 120 FPS and 4K capabilities?
I kind of expected it. I will be surprised by like how well the 4K is. Because like I've said, I have an ROG Ally, and like games like Elden Ring, I can get that to run at 1080p 60 frames pretty easily. But I'm like, that it's like I'd have to like turn down some of the settings to get to the 60. So I'm really curious to see like if they're gonna do up-res technology to really like to make it actually 60 frames, or if it's going to be more 4K 30 that we're going to be seeing.
And speaking of up-reses, we'll kind of transition into this. They showed off that some games would be more powerful on the Switch 2 than they were on the Switch 1, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. But those will come with a price hike, and either paying $10 or $20 depending on the game. What are your thoughts on having to pay? You've already bought the console. You already have this game on Switch 1 that you love. What are your thoughts on having to pay yet again to play the game on Switch 2?
I would say like the instances like Kirby and like like when they're adding content, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But we're with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, especially because we found out that Breath of the Wild, like, that doesn't even include the expansion pass. It is kind of like enough, like I don't know. It's not. It's really hard to justify that, especially because it is, at least as far as we know right now, it's just like uprising. Like you can go on a computer and do that using an emulator. So I'm like, I don't see the justification of an extra $10 when you guys have probably you just like make the resolution scale maximum instead of like if they had to go in and do stuff, or if they actually added like some content to it, then paying it a little more is justifiable. But and especially because like there are games that they're going to do free updates for, like Mario Odyssey and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're making us pay for Zelda, other than that you can.
Yeah, it seems like they're just saying, hey, this is a premium title. We know you'll pay for it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And it kind of screws over new Switch 2 owners. Because say you skipped on Tears of the Kingdom because you wanted to see that run on better hardware. Well, now you're having to pay $80 for a Switch 2 version.
Yeah.
Which is...
And like the $70 price tag for Tears of the Kingdom was already like a huge hot debated topic when that was a thing. And when before Tears of the Kingdom came out, I was like, yeah, $70 is fine, and like because I know it's going to be a big open world game, but and then you like play the game and they overhyped the Skylands. I don't know, that's a whole other tangent, but
yeah,
as someone who was like really looking forward to the Sky Islands and then it be just copy and paste everywhere, I kind of felt a little burned.
With
but
I mean, you had that and but see, the depths was just kind of exploring and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a different conversation for a different day, totally. But speaking of that, while we're here, $80 games, $450 console. Just overall,
yeah.
I mean, I was stunned to see that. I mean, $80 Mario Kart. Rumors of a $90 that later got shut down. I
get mad at those people who like, oh, it's $90 physical. Like, no, that's like in a different country that has a worse, different, situation over there.
Yeah, that people can't look at the dollar sign. So.
I feel like there's something more to Mario Kart that they haven't shown us yet, and that's why they're having that direct next week. But I do feel like something like Mario Kart or Smash or something that you have a lot of replayability, like you're going to be playing for a long time. I can kind of see it, especially because like development costs are rising, and games have been $60 for so long that it's kind of makes sense, especially if we want the developers to get paid a reasonable amount. I don't mind paying $80. I know that's like a big sting for like a lot of like other people who can't afford to do it, to even be like that's $20. But also if you look at it like you're going to spend $80 and then you'll have that for the rest of your life, then it's like, okay, I can understand some outrage, but I don't understand why everyone's like saying this is the worst thing to happen in gaming. Like people were thinking that GTA 5 was going to be $100 because that's like $1 billion project. It only just makes sense, especially because I know that Nintendo, well, I don't know, Nintendo is now starting to be like, it's super anti-consumer, but in the past, at least, they aren't, shoving microtransactions down your throat, adding, unnecessary DLC content later on, or, releasing a game that's a buggy mess. So, I mean, if I'm paying $80 up front for the whole game, I mean, yeah, maybe there'll be like extra DLC down the line. But if the game I get is complete, doesn't have bugs, and, I don't feel like I'm being scammed, then I don't mind paying $80, especially when a lot of people play the free-to-play games, but then spend like thousands of dollars on just skins. Like there was a YouTuber. I was like, this is crazy. This YouTuber was like complaining about the $80 price tag, but in that same video, he advertised this company called Display. I don't know if you've like seen that.
I don't think I have heard of it, no, but I'm interested now.
It's literally just like posters, but they're on metal, and the and I was like, I wonder what these prices are, and they were like $200 for a poster. I was like, this guy's complaining about $80 Switch game, but he's advertising $200 posters. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and in that kind of perspective too is I understand it from both sides. Like on one side, you can kind of feel like, oh, they're charging $80 because hey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold better than almost any Nintendo game ever sold. Let's try and hike it to 80. I'm kind of with you in the sense that there's a whole other Mario Kart Direct. They've shown a ton of it at a Nintendo Treehouse, and I think there's still either like a story mode or something that they're hiding that's gonna see this game, I mean, really shine and like be worth that $80 price tag. And my thing too is I was upset at first just because I was worried that was going to be the standard, and it's not.
No, I think that's for like the big games. Mm-hmm. Unless Donkey Kong turns out to be a very small game, and then we'll be like, we'll have to reevaluate that. But I think I don't know. They say it's not based on, these prices aren't based on tariffs. But I also noticed that the only two games that have a price is Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, whereas they're still going to be releasing Metroid Prime, and they're going to do, I think, was it Kirby Air Rider supposed to come out this year? I don't remember.
Kirby Air Riders this year,
And then the new Hyrule Warriors, none of those have a price tag. Like, typically you can pre-order these games even before they have a release date.
Yeah.
But none of them do. So it's kind of like, are they holding that information until it gets closer to release and they'll know what the manufacturing cost of these cartridges are going to be? That's kind of what because they say it's not based on tariffs, but there's no way. We've known that this was going to happen since November.
Yeah.
There's been almost all companies have been preparing for this. So they're probably just saying that to stay, to stay out of it. But
yeah.
I think they're going to have a price cut here in like 4 or 5 years. And it's going to be like, so that's probably what the original price was going to be.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw like they cut the price of the 3DS after a while when it wasn't selling very well. I don't see this having a problem selling at all. But yeah, you're totally right. There's no way that they didn't know about the tariffs, because I mean, they moved before Vietnam got hit. They moved part of their manufacturing from China to Vietnam. And so obviously you don't just do that. I mean, that's doing it in preparation for those tariffs.
Not only that, but you don't move 2 million units in a month before the tariffs get implemented.
Is there anything that I didn't touch on, or that we didn't touch on, that you're looking forward to about the Switch 2 release? And do you plan on buying a Switch 2 on launch?
Oh yeah, I'm actively right now. I can't wait for Nintendo to just tell us when to buy it. I've been saving up since they originally announced that it was coming out. So no matter what the price was going to be, unless they had to double it because of tariffs, but I don't think that'll happen now. But I was going to buy it regardless, even if it they said it was going to be $500 base price and then $550 for Mario Kart the bundle. I was going to buy it because I'm also gonna be buying a ton of the accessories too. I'm gonna buy a second dock because currently I have 3 docks for my regular Switch, so I know I'm gonna at least need 2. Right. But I'm also gonna be buying the Pro controller, and I'm gonna, because I've already saved up all this money, I'm gonna just buy as much as I can now, so that way I will have all of it now and not have to buy it later. How about you, though? Are you going to buy it on launch?
I'd like to. Now, the thing is I'm starting a new career. I graduate in the spring, and so between a move, you have to decide, hey, are you going to buy a couch or are you going to buy a Switch 2?
Yeah.
So
couches are actually unnecessarily expensive.
It's crazy. So there's some decisions I got to make in there. But yeah, I'm hoping to. Before we go, is there any other final comments you have about the Switch 2 launch, the directs, or anything for the future of the Switch 2?
No, I'm finally excited to play games. I feel like lately we've been kind of dried out, and I'm glad that now that the Switch 2 is coming out, Nintendo's gonna probably go full cylinder. Obviously, we probably will have another direct in June after the Switch releases, and I think that's when the heavy hitters are gonna get announced.
That's for keep your fingers crossed for like your Smash Bros. And those kind of heavy hitters. Well, like I said, Dallas, thank you so much for joining me for the finale, the last segment of this Switch to Release podcast. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.